when we look at engagements, and we're talking about the lessons learned, and we start looking at what Kroll uses, is we use the Kroll Intrusion Lifecycle to map out what threat actors do. This is a pattern that we've seen across thousands and thousands of engagements of the way threat actors gain access to something and then leverage that access for whatever their mission execution is. So the initial exploit, it could be a phishing email, it could be a malware dropper, malicious ad, zero-day vulnerability, really something that gives them some small window foothold into whatever the environment is that they are trying to look at. We also see after that, there's some initial scouting. They want to know, where am I? How many computers do I have? Do I have do I have 10,000 endpoint network? Do I have an 8 endpoint network, right? They want to know where they are, what they found. The toolkit deployment. The next phase they're going to do is they're going to drop in some tools that are going to assist them in their goals, right? This can be Cobalt Strike. This can be AnyDesk. This can be really any of the tooling that we see them drop into networks, and it could be malicious, and it could be simply a tool that is commonly used among IT teams. They're going to move from there once they build out that bulkhead a little bit larger. They have their tools in the environment. We're typically going to see some form of privilege escalation or privilege collection. So they're looking for the credentials. For a network service, they're looking for those domain admin credentials. Anything that's going to get them the keys to the kingdom, that's what they're looking for, as then they start to move laterally from their initial beachhead with the credentials they've collected to start identifying file servers, to start identifying SharePoint sites, to start identifying all the places where the organization stores data, and then really where they store their sensitive data. That's what they're looking for. Mission execution is simply going to be, for some actors, for the actors that are the single extortion, really a data extortion type thing, they're looking to exfiltrate that data, and then they're looking to email or send messages or some way to get their attention to enter into negotiations. For a ransomware threat actor that uses the double extortion tactic, it's going to be take data and then ransomware encrypt that data. When we look broadly across the 50+ MOVEIt compromises, what we saw was that Clop automated 4 of these methods. They automated initial exploit, toolkit deployment, escalation, and mission execution all in one script. Okay, so what we see is we see that initial exploit of when they leverage that guest access.aspx file, and then the toolkit deployment was they dropped a web shell, human2.aspx. They dropped human2.aspx on every box. There wasn't a differentiation in ASPX names, simply because it was an automated script that did the same thing every time, which was very different from when we saw proxy logon or proxy shell, and we had a lot of different names that are the web shells that were different simply because we had different threat actors that were trying to leverage these exploits. Here, very consistent fact pattern from beginning to end of a scripted attack from Clop. Once they had that web shell on the box, then their privilege escalation was simply they attached to an admin account or created their own admin account. Now that was a MOVEIt admin account. That wasn't a Windows an admin account, wasn't a domain account. It was a specific to MOVEIt. And then they leveraged either the account they made or the account they attached to. They used that to exfiltrate data. All of that was a very automated process. The shortest amount of time we've seen from beginning to end was 15 minutes. On average, you're talking about an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours to get from initial exploit to simply data leaving the environment, with the earliest being 15 minutes. That is much faster than the ransomware actors we've seen. Historically speaking, I think a couple of years ago, the average dwell time was 2 to 3 weeks. Here in 2022, 2023, we've seen threat actors moving a lot quicker to get to that end goal, and we have an average dwell time of 2 to 3 days, right? When we have a threat actor that we see that has a dwell time of 15 minutes from initial exploit to data exfiltration, that is very consistent with an automated scripted attack, and they're looking to grab that data and then extort someone for that data.